This episode of Roster Duster is brought to you by me, because I had to make this tier list because no one else had a Persona 4 Arena one. There's a bunch of Persona ones, there's an entire category for Persona, but it's mostly just waifu tier lists and various characters in general tier lists, but no one did one for the Arena games. That's bullshit. So the actual list is just a normal tier list. I modified it just for personal use here, but if you go on the actual link in the description, which I'll hopefully have provided, it's just a normal tier list. Of course, you can make your own modifications to make it a Roster Duster one, but the point is, we're going to go through the Persona 4 Arena games and erase half the characters. Imagine this is for Persona Arena, which will be in 3D, with 3D graphics with like Dragon Ball FighterZ, you'd be like that, or Guilty Gear. And because of that shift, they're going to have to cut half the characters, also to make room for the entire Persona 5 cast. So who we're going to keep and who we're going to get rid of, alright? Well, first off, the ones you have to keep. You have to keep your boy Yu. You also have to keep Aigis, because Aigis is basically the main character of P3 as far as post-3 content is concerned, because, you know, because of the... It's like the only thing from the answer that actually carried over, that Aigis is super important. Other than that, fuck the answer, it's gone. Get rid. I'm also going to say we keep Labris around, but we cut Shadow Labris. I mean, you know, they added the Shadow versions of the characters as a thing in Ultimax, but Shadow Labris stayed as a separate character because she had different moves and that, and there's no point keeping her around. You can just have it as a Shadow version of Labris. Plus, I feel like one thing they should add in these games is the option to choose which persona your character uses. Because it always bugs me that the characters presumably have gone through character development and got the ultimate personas, but then when you go to the spin-offs, even if it's set after that game, they always use the originals. You know, the characters can't actually choose that by default. So you should have to choose that for the game. Honestly, I never cared for Sho. Labris felt somewhat fanficky, you know, like basically the way I would describe it is Labris is the self-insert character for like a crossover fanfic that would be made by a girl, and Sho is the one that would be made by a boy. And honestly, Labris actually has a decent backstory and is a fine character. Sho is just edgelord piece of shit. Now, some of you might be surprised actually that I've put these two in Erase Forever before putting Marie in, because Marie, oh, whoo boy, that bitch, hate her. I mean, I did the fucking waifu tier list, and she was just fucking trash tier. Which, there's only like one other character that qualified for that, I think. She's trash. So, obviously there's going to be more Persona 4 characters that stick around, if only because there are just more characters from P4 in it, compared to P3. Also, if you're wondering about the order, you might think, okay, so here's the P4 characters, then the P3 characters. Why is Naoto here? Because I put the images in, I was putting them in batches, because I know that Tier List Maker fucks up the order all the time, and it fucked up the order when I was putting Naoto in with the P3 characters as part of like the third batch of images, even though I had numbered them, and Naoto's number was lower than the other, so she should have come first, but no. And you can't rearrange the images. I don't know why Tier List Maker doesn't let you do that. So if you add more later, it's always going to look really dumb. You know, like if I did update this after like a Persona 5 arena that I did the Persona 5 cast, and then they added, say, the Persona 3 protagonist after that, he'd be at the end. I won't be able to put him with his friend. It's fucking bullshit. Fuck you, Tier List Maker. You're a bad website. Some characters you may have seen in my waifu tier list, you know they're going to make it in. Mitsuru, Naoto, and Elizabeth. I mean, it would be silly not to have them. And best boy, Akihiko. Honestly, I never much cared for Teddy. Just to be clear, this is more based on just how I like the characters, not about gameplay, really. Because there is some gameplay components to this character, but you know, honestly, it's like, I didn't play much of Arena, really. I mean, I played through the story. Well, I played through the story, more like I read the story in the game, and was occasionally allowed to play the video game. Like, Labris' chapter is so fucking long. And it's one of the things that I think could benefit from the 3D stuff, is because any other opponents you might fight in that story are just other robots and that, but because of the 2D elements, they would have to make new 2D sprite sets for those characters. Whereas, if it was in 3D, they could just make a character model and just slap it onto Aigis or Labris' moveset, and just that's it. So they should do a 3D one that redoes the story of the existing Persona 4 Arena games. That would be cool. Now, the thing is, while Koro-chan is like really cool, Ken is a chode. Like, he was fine in Arena, admittedly, but you know, you go back to the original game and he's a cunt. I hate him. And while Adachi is a good villain, ultimately you have to cut him because you need the room for more of the actual proper characters, such as I feel like you can't cut these three. I feel like they're part of the core team, so you kind of have to keep Yosuke, Chie, and Yukiko. Which I guess means that the other two party members are probably not going to make it in, unfortunately. I have to choose 4 more characters to erase, and I get 1 character left over, so I'll get to keep 1 extra character. So, who will I be keeping? Kanji Rise, Junpei, Margaret, or Yukari? And I don't know, because, well, you don't really need Rise. I mean, she wasn't even playable in the original, which was kind of funny. He had to alter her persona to make it work as a fighter, which is one of the things that is potentially interesting about a future game. I mean, if they don't with Rise, they could do the same with Fuka, or more specifically with Futaba. Imagine Futaba having a proper fighter moveset. How her persona would be reworked, I don't know. Maybe it would just be Necronomicon, it just rolls around and crushes people. That could be funny. Although, I imagine they'd probably do some weird, like, dumb anime bullshit where it's some kind of mecha or a magical girl just because she's like a huge weeb. I never much cared for Junpei. I feel like of the 3 best friend characters, you know, him, Yosuke, and Ryuji, he is easily the worst. I mean, he has a bad first impression where he's super jealous of the fact that the main character gets to be the leader, and it's like, dude, he awakened his persona before you did. Why the fuck would you be the leader? You come in late to the game and you still think you should be the leader? Fuck you. I feel like Junpei's character would have worked better if he'd been an upperclassman. If he'd been older and then he was like, why should I have to take orders from someone younger than me? That would be fine. And from what I understand with in the FemC route, he's super mad that he has to take orders from a girl or something. I don't know if that's true, that's what I've heard. But I feel like at that point you just can't like him at all. I never much cared for Margaret, so I guess she can go. She just seems the least interesting out of all the Velvet Room attendants. I actually like Theodore more than her. I feel sorry for Theodore. Theodore is a character they should add into this. They should put him into these games. That'd be cool. And I wonder how they would handle Caroline and Justine. I mean, you could say, oh, just do Lavender instead, but they wouldn't. I mean, the dancing game has Caroline and Justine because they're the ones people know. They're the marketable ones, I guess. So that leaves these two. So the question is, do I keep your boy Kanji, who's one of the better characters in P4, or do I keep Yukari, who is a huge cunt in the answer, but then like every appearance since then have been desperately trying to make her more likable, and it works. I do like her more than some of the other fucking P3 characters, but even then she's still kind of always been an asshole. But then again, her weapon is a bow, so that does offer something a bit more distinct in terms of gameplay. I mean, okay, you got 1, 2 characters who have a fair bit of ranged play, just in normal attacks, not just necessarily the persona stuff, but it really is tough. And I don't think any of the ones I've decided to keep I would want to cut, or all the ones I've chosen to cut I care enough to bring them back. So there's no alternative here, it's between these two, and I'm having a hard time with this. I like Kanji more as a character. And honestly, there's no point reflecting on it because I don't think I would change any of this. And again, guys, I have to remind you, this isn't me saying if they did a sequel, I would want these characters cut. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, if the roster were to be cut in half, I would want these ones to stay. These ones, unfortunately, would then have to go, because that's how this works. I don't know why so many people just don't seem to get how this show works. I'm not advocating for half the roster being cut. I'm just challenging myself to pick the ones I think are the most essential, or the ones I would just most enjoy to stick around. Calm the fuck down. But yeah, I'd love to see a new Arena game, whether that's focused on P5 or is just basically Persona 4 Arena 3, but expanded out to be more general Persona. Obviously, you want to have the P5 cast. I feel like at the very least you would get the 4 founders and Makoto. Well, I say that, but honestly, I feel like it's more likely if they're going to have a 5th member, it wouldn't be Makoto, it would be Violet, because how much fucking push Violet gets, and I don't want that. I don't want it. But I think one of the coolest things they could do really with a potential future Arena game is set it after P5, so then you can use the P3 and 4 characters, but they're older now, so you get to see them in new designs. Plus, moving into 3D will allow you to have more costume options, so you could have the P3 cast as they were in P3, and you have the P4 cast as they are in P4, but then you've also got all of them after those lives, when they've all moved on to other things, and then the P5 cast, I mean, in Persona 5 Scramble, the characters get new outfits, just normal summer wear, and that's cool. So even just something as simple as that would be cool to see with these other characters. But more than that, I would also want it to expand into including characters from P1 and 2, just to acknowledge that those games do in fact exist and are part of the canon. I mean, one thing that could be interesting actually is if they brought back the characters from Innocent Sin, because I think most of those characters don't have their personas during Eternal Punishment, or at least they aren't aware of them, because of the whole timeline alteration bullshit. So yeah, could be interesting to have those characters come back. I mean, obviously they're going to be way older now. They'd be in the late 30s, I think, by this point. Still, it'd be fun to see those characters come back and reawaken their personas. So I guess if I could pick 5 characters to go into a new Persona Arena game, no OCs or anything, just existing characters, I would want 1 rep from 1, 1 from 2, and then I guess I would just go with Joker and Ryuji from P5. You know, you could try going for a bit of a wider range for the P5 characters, like you could drop, maybe Ann or Ryuji for Makoto, but honestly, if you like Makoto more than Ann, there's something seriously wrong with you. Like, I've already definitively confirmed that Ann is the best girl from the Phantom Thieves team just by saying it, and, I don't like people exposing themselves as complete idiots by saying that Makoto is best girl, or Haru, who has no fucking screen time, or Futaba, who is, more like a sister. It's fun to dunk on people who have bad takes, but I don't want to see people exposing themselves as being that dumb and then just getting their assholes blown out live on stream. There's some schadenfreude there, but at the same time, it is cruel, and I don't want to see anyone go through that. So, it's best to keep your terrible waifu opinions to yourself, you know what I'm saying? OMG, 4Snake is intolerant of other people's waifu ideals. Fuck you, fucking bitch.